talk about next is what I call establishing effective teams. All right, and this is a topic really about how to set up teams so that they're effective, and in particular introducing a concept called value teams. Okay, so we're going to go step by step here and explain how this thing works. So here's the world pre-Agile. Okay, so pre-Agile, we believe the world looks something like this. You have on one side IT, you have your developers, your analysts, your testers, all that kind of good stuff. And then you have your stakeholders, the business on the other side, and you have project managers in the middle, right? Makes sense? Typically. Now, when you look at this, what we did pre-Agile was when a project was launched, we created a matrix, right? We took a project manager with a group of developers, an analyst, and tester, and said, you guys need to execute this project. But they report dotted line maybe to the project manager, solid line to their functional manager, and so forth. So that's the world pre-Agile. Now, what Agile did was say, you know what? This doesn't feel like a team. This feels like an assembly line. This feels like a relay race, right? You have stations on the assembly line with the foremen, right, on top. So we're going to actually create a team out of them. All right? So that's what they did. They said, instead of creating the matrix, we're going to create a team. The Agile delivery team. All right? Some people call it the Scrum team, call it whatever you want to call it. Now, this team has a person that is sort of called the team facilitator. Okay? So this person helps the team really become a team and do some other stuff we'll talk about. But this person is what I would call content neutral. Now let me explain what content neutral means. Content neutral means they don't provide opinion with respect to certain matters. All right? They own process, not content. By the way, this is a commonly known role as Scrum Master. Okay? Now, let's take a look at what this person should be doing. When we talk about a team facilitator, facilitation is the art of leading people through a process. To do what? To get an outcome. So if all 6 of us here, right, I'm the facilitator, then standing here, I own process, not content. I would say, okay, I'd like everyone to write down where they'd like to go for lunch. Okay? So let's say we're going to come up to an agreed upon outcome, which is where we're going to go for lunch. Now, think about this. If I'm the facilitator, if I start providing content, what's going to happen? I'm going to muddy the waters. Because I own both content and process. I'm going to say, all right, everyone, write down 2 options you want to go out for lunch. And if I start to gather all this and say, yeah, we don't like this, no, this is, wait, are we coming up with an outcome or are you making a decision for us? Which one is it? So if you truly want the team to engage as a team, we as team facilitators need to remain content neutral. Because we lead people through processes to get to agreed upon outcomes in a manner that encourages 3 things. Everyone to participate, to be creative, and to buy into the result. So if I start to dominate the conversation, right, and I'm not content neutral, how are they going to buy into the result? Is this making sense? Yes. Now, there's a tension for team facilitators, which is, but I'm held accountable. Well, that's a different tension, and that's a whole different course, actually, which is on the coaching track of IC Agile called Agile Team Facilitation. So it talks all about this role and what they need to do. Okay? Now, moving back, let's introduce the delivery team. So this delivery team is a team that has everything and everyone they need to develop a working piece of software. So it has your developers, your analysts, your testers, others, right? Whoever you need to be part of a team to actually deliver a working piece of software. And I would say you have your tech lead or team lead here as well. Okay? Now, the delivery team facilitator here's what they need to be doing during the team, or for the team, sorry. The delivery team facilitator is responsible for engaging all the members of the delivery team, right, to identify the best way to deliver value to the customer with the highest quality. The delivery team facilitator focuses their time on the following. Number one, educating and protecting the adoption of Agile practices and processes. So where's the education happening from, right? If I'm there, right, there's a great deal of education there. Support the team and clear impediments for the team. Facilitating critical team work sessions and Agile team practices. Iteration planning, release planning, right? Daily stand-ups, retrospectives, they facilitate these things. Help the team radiate progress in different information. So we talked about information, we will talk about information radiators later, right? But just from what the word means, we're radiating information to provide that visibility. So who's helping with that? The delivery team facilitator. Ensures that the delivery team as a team is a functional team, right? And then facilitates and follows up on improvements for the team. Yeah?
Can I just clarify? So you're talking about the same facilitator here as you talked about an Agile, talked about a facilitator for the team.
Yes, this is that facilitator.
Yeah, thank you.
Now another key role, which exists in teams today, but just to re-emphasize, is the tech lead, right? The team lead or the tech lead. The tech lead provides day-to-day technical guidance for the team. Does that make sense? Okay? So they're shepherding technical excellence and providing technical guidance. They're monitoring what we call technical debt. We talked a little bit about that yesterday, remember? Technical debt. Things that we sort of, quote unquote, cut corners around in order to deliver value, but it's debt. Okay? Answering technical questions, ensuring technical collaboration. Because sometimes the team facilitator won't know when two people need to talk and exchange certain technical information. That's where the tech lead comes in. Facilitate pairing. You guys heard of pairing? Right? Pair programming. It's an Agile practice where two developers work on the same machine. So they facilitate that pairing, coordinating reviews, and so forth. Now, we talked a lot about generalizing specialists. Here's a visual to sort of keep them in mind. A generalist looks something like this. A specialist looks something like this. And a generalizing specialist looks something like this. Okay? So this is what we're looking for. Now, this Agile delivery team, what we did was, and this is typically in Scrum, and this is sort of the common flavor or what many teams do in Agile. Here's the dangerous part. They picked from the business one person and said, you're the product owner. You're going to represent the business to the team. Right? You own the product. And this product owner role, whether you put them beside the team or on the team, really, it's quite an interesting role. Now, I'm going to not call them product owner, even though they're known as product owner. I'm going to call them value team facilitator. Value team facilitator. But I want to emphasize the point that even though a facilitator is usually content neutral, this guy is not content neutral. Why? Because he's the facilitator of a different team, not the delivery team. So when he sits on the delivery team, he's not sitting as a quote-unquote facilitator. He's sitting as a representative of the value team. So he's not content neutral. He's providing actual content. Now, I do want to introduce you because as you leave the class, the term product owner is quite pervasive in the industry, right? And it's used to refer to this person who sits on the team or beside the team and provides the business guidance to the team. Now, here's the definition of the product owner as per the Scrum guide. So Scrum has a methodology, right? Here's the guide that says, here's what the product owner should do. They say the product owner is the sole person responsible for managing the product backlog, right? The product backlog is the to-do list, big to-do list for all the items in the project. The product backlog management includes expressing the backlog items, which is our requirements, ordering the items in the backlog to best achieve goals, okay, optimizing the value of the work for the work the development team performs, ensuring the product backlog is visible, and so forth. Now, here's the key point here. The product owner is one person, not a committee. I don't agree with that. So this is my personal opinion. This is based on my experience. I do not agree with that. Okay? So this is per Scrum, and that's respectful. What I have seen in my experience is this needs to become a team as well. So we need to see who's involved on the business side in discovery. Now, the reason why I put it as a team is the following. If we truly believe this is about knowledge work, and we believe that knowledge work is a constant state of discovery, okay, then we need to create a strong team that can learn and discover together, right? But the reality is usually this product owner in the old diagram over here, right, the product owner, we have no idea how they work with the other group. And so if you have a bad product owner, they're making decisions out of thin air, not representative truly of the customer or client base, right? And that's why you find so many courses about the good product owner, the passionate product owner, the great product owner. The reality is, wait, this notion of product owner, let's put a question mark around, right? And I'm talking especially in larger organizations, okay? Because I believe they need to have a team, right? And these two teams do not look like this. Nor they don't have this gap. It's not two teams, us and them. It's not even that they're touching. It's that they're overlapping. These teams must be overlapping. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that the value team facilitator is a member, a working member of the delivery team. And the delivery team facilitator is a working member of the value team. This diagram basically says, no, they're not members of each other's teams, but they talk to each other. No, they need to be members of each other's teams. Okay? And this is where the diagram shows when we're talking and looking at the delivery team, the value team facilitator isn't content neutral. And when we're talking about the delivery, and the delivery team facilitator is, and guess what? Vice versa. When we're looking at the value team facilitator will become content neutral, and the delivery team facilitator will not.
That way you negate any issue of clash between the two facilitators.
You got it.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about the value team because of this nebulous new term, right? The value team. The value team is responsible for providing three things. Making sure that the product I'm building is feasible, usable, and valuable. Feasible, usable, and valuable. Make sense? So we really just need to think, who needs to be on the value team to ensure those things? And that may differ from one organization to another. And that's totally fine. But keep those things in mind. So the value team, and listen carefully to this definition, has everyone and everything they need to identify, prioritize, and slice business value. So who does the slicing? The value team. Who does the prioritization? The value team. Does that make sense? And make decisions about functionality and prepare the information needed by the delivery team. Any question the delivery team should have about functionality, the value team should be able to answer. So, who's on the value team? Here's a possible configuration. Doesn't have to be that way. Okay? But we know we have these two roles. We have the value team facilitator who's now content neutral. We have the delivery team facilitator who's now not content neutral, right? Provides content. We have our analysts. We have business stakeholders. We have user experience people. We have user acceptance test people, UAT. We have governance. We have our project manager. A lot of people ask, where does a project manager live in Agile, right? And some people say, well, they don't live. We kill them, right? Or there are no project managers in Agile. I don't believe that's true. And when we talk about the roles of the project manager, I'll challenge anyone to say, if you don't think the project manager should live in an Agile company or an Agile team, tell me who's going to do those roles. So let's start talking first about the value team facilitator. The value team facilitator is sort of similar to that product owner we talked about, but different. Okay? So the value team facilitator, over there it said they're the only owner. Here we say they're responsible for engaging all the necessary stakeholders and users of the system to identify what needs to be built. Because in my experience dealing with large-scale organizations, there is no one person to own the product. There's 50 people. You have legal, you have fraud, you have just so many entities that have a say and a veto, right, on what's going to get built. So the question now becomes, how do you select one person to own the product? I don't believe you can. So the value team is responsible for engaging all the necessary stakeholders and users of the system to identify what needs to be built and discuss and negotiate that with the delivery team. Okay? So the value team facilitator focuses their time on defining and refining the product backlog with the value team, preparing for and facilitating release planning meetings. So of all the Agile meetings we have, the value team facilitator is primarily responsible for the release planning, and we'll talk about that. Prioritize the backlog. Facilitate multiple opinions and relay one voice to the delivery team. That's critical. Remember the exercise we did yesterday? Right? When people were shouting, right? Now you had multiple owners shouting to one delivery team, and what happens? The delivery team ends up prioritizing, not the business. Ensuring that the value team as a team is functional and productive. Okay? Facilitating the gathering of feedback during the iteration review and beyond that. And then facilitating multiple sessions with the different stakeholders. Identifying stakeholder needs, establishing product vision, resolve conflicting requirements, defining product roadmap, all of these product-related stuff, right? And project-related stuff from a business perspective. Who is going to do that? And it's not one person that can determine all these. I believe this needs to be the collective work of that group. That's why it needs a facilitator. Now, remember here, the facilitator is content neutral as they're trying to engage the team. But they're not stupid and they don't know context. Why? Because when they turn around and sit on the delivery team, they better be very well equipped, right, to answer these questions. So they have to have context. So here comes the challenge. How do you have someone who has knowledge to remain content neutral? And that's the training, right? That's where the shift happens. That, listen, if you're a value team facilitator, use your knowledge to ask powerful questions of the group, right? Ask the powerful questions, but let the group decide. And then commit to that decision along with them, turn around and speak on behalf of the business to the delivery team. It's a subtle shift in dynamic, but it makes the biggest difference. Now, the project manager sits on the value team, I believe, and their primary focus is the project. Not the delivery team or the value team, the project. There is a third entity called the project, right? So the project manager needs to provide upper management with the visibility and information needed for decision making, okay? Manage project budget and resources. Who does that? It's definitely not the Scrum Master nor the product owner, right? Nor the value team facilitator. Who does this stuff? Manage communication and expectation with external entities. Dependency management. Creating, managing, updating communication and communicating plans, right? Is help in establishing the teams in the first place. Managing risk, manage vendors and contracts. All these kind of things someone needs to manage, right? And if you look at typical Scrum terminology, they don't have any of these. So the question becomes, who does this work? Because most, I wouldn't even say large scale, medium scale projects need to have this managed quite well.